far, so our thoughts and prayers are with him. And our council is stuck elsewhere, so it's been an interesting day of scrambling. So I do apologize for being a few minutes late. A couple of things. First, welcome to the meeting this evening on June, we can go on the record. The meeting of June 26. Lisa's on the call as well? Yeah. Good. Meeting of June 26. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. We'll proceed with the cases in a moment, but I did want to note that we have a new calendar. It will be up on the Agenda Center. We've worked very hard to adjust because we were on this crazy Tuesday, Thursday, every 2 week schedule, and it was like playing hopscotch, trying to figure out when your case was on. So we decided to go once a month, and it will be the first Thursday of every month. That's it. Very simple, very clear. It's on the agenda, and we will move forward. If you have any questions, just let me know. If we do need to have another meeting, the third Thursday is also open, and so we can do an impromptu or a monthly schedule for that. So new calendar, look at the Agenda Center, and it'll be easy to tell when these meetings are going forward because it's always on the first Thursday. Okay? That's it for procedural, I think, for the moment. All right, let's start with our cases. The first case is Maximilian Casante. This is a case where they've asked for an adjournment. They've asked to adjourn to July the 3rd. Do I hear a motion to adjourn that case? Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, it's at the request of these. Person is submitted for adjournment. Sorry? Oh, thank you. All right. The second case is the Eiffel Residence case, 2020 Meadow Lane. Is anyone here to come forward to speak to that case? No. All right. That public hearing was closed at the last meeting, and we are going to be discussing that and preparing an opinion at the next meeting on July the 3rd. So we'll put that over for that time. It's already been closed, so no motion needs to be had and no vote needs to be taken. We're just moving it from this week to next week. Okay? The third case we have is case number 3204, Meadow Club of Southampton. Would you all like to come forward and present that case?
I have to accuse myself. I have to recuse myself because I'm a member.
We'll talk about that. No, it's okay. I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
Once they get up here, because I want them to be present, and we'll talk about it.
I'm recusing myself now.
Well, you don't have to. You will, but you do not have to, and I'll explain why.
Oh, okay.
So while you all get settled, I want to chat with you, everyone, about how we're going to proceed with this case. There is a legal theory. It has a fancy name, but basically, we have 5 members of our board. Under the rules of ethics to move, or the code rather, to move forward, we have to have a majority vote. That's 3 of 5. 3 of 5 people on this board and 3 of 5 people on some of the other boards you have to go through are members or applicants of the club. And therefore, they would have a conflict of interest. Therefore, we cannot get 3 of 5 members to vote to go forward or even to reject any particular matter on this case. There is a rule of, I think it's called the rule of necessity or something. Brian, counsel, will be joining us, and he can explain it. But basically, it means that if you need to open up the ability to vote, you can do so to be able to reach a decision on a case. That is the rule of, I think, necessity. And the way you do it is this. You open it up. For example, 2 of us can vote and deliberate because we are not members and we are not applicants to become members. There are 2 members that are, two other individual members of the zoning board that are members of the club. There is another person on the board, a 5th person, who is an applicant. The applicant has a conflict of interest, so she's out. But the other 2 members, we can choose to bring one of them in to reach the minimum quorum of 3 for any given vote. And I'm told by counsel the way we do it is, we go forward with the deliberations. Both of you who are members should be listening carefully, almost like a jury that's being on the side waiting to go on. So you sit there and listen as an alternate, and when it comes time to vote, one of you will step in to vote. And I said, how do we know which one? And he said, they can choose. So you can just say you're willing and comfortable, or you pick a number between 1 and 10, he said, whatever we do, but one of you will step in. Now, if it's to a point of a vote where we need another person, the other member will step in. I won't get into the math with you, but mathematically, we can move it in.
Okay.
So we're going to go forward with the hearing. We will have 4 people listening astutely. 2 have no conflicts at all and will definitely be voting, and we will bring in one of the other 2 reserved people that are actual members to vote when it's time to vote. All right? Are there any questions about that?
Okay, I assume that it has already been discussed with your counsel about the conflict of interest issue, because I had a similar case. It was before this board, different members. a different case. It actually was a bathing corp, and members of the bathing corp were here, and I actually had, I believe, 2 or 3 that were members, and there was discussion, and I don't believe you have the same counsel as there was before, and they indicated that they were not going to recuse themselves, and they had determined there was no conflict of interest because they were not equity member, whatever discussions were had. I'm not familiar with what discussions were had with counsel. So we actually, as the applicant and my partner Gil, who wasn't here, had this discussion. And since we had this experience with the bathing corp, we actually didn't think that we were going to be in a position where you're saying one of your members is now applying. That definitely is a conflict, but that you're going to only have 2 non-conflicted members, and one is coming in as a vote of necessity, but that's going to be drawing straws.
Correct. And let me explain to you how we got there because of what you just said about counsel and so on. I raised this issue right from the outset because I thought if you're a member, if you're an applicant to be a member, et cetera, conflicts of interest, you're out. So I said, we have a problem. We only have 2 people. And I went to Eileen Powers, who's the village attorney, and we went to the head of the ethics committee.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you a choice here to help you out here because you can choose. So I want you to be comfortable. And I said, what do we do? And then the planning commission had similar discussions. I'll leave it at that. They can speak for themselves. And that's when Eileen Powers, village attorney, said, the applicant definitely cannot. The members can. And this is how you do it, rule of necessity. They choose who wants to go forward. It's anybody's get. The ethics committee head was at that meeting, and she nodded or what have you. She had no problem with it. So it's gone through it's been discussed in front of the head of the ethics committee. It's been discussed with Eileen.
I definitely understand why the applicant, that a pending applicant can't vote. But you had this, all right, that's fine with.
Is that okay? Because if you'd like to adjourn and come back after you can talk with Eileen, I'm totally comfortable.
No.
I just want to make sure you're comfortable and you don't think there's conflicts.
I want to, if the board has already discussed this and you're comfortable with how you're proceeding, I'm fine. You have a quorum here. What you're indicating to me is that, but the person who's not conflicted other than you is not here. That's my only.
No, I am conflicted.
Oh, you're conflicted.
She's definitely conflicted and will not be voting.
Okay, but where's the, what I'm saying, the other non-conflicted member is not present?
I have people on the phone that can vote. You follow? We have 3 people here to reach a quorum to have a ZBA meeting.
Yes.
And we have a person, myself, who can
Linda
vote.
Munn is definitely conflicted.
Yes.
And will not be voting.
And Tom is on the phone, and Joyce is here, and they can vote under the rule of necessity.
Okay, but you are not conflicted at all.
Excuse me?
You're not conflicted at all.
Correct.
And Orrin Glick is not conflicted at all.
Correct, but he is not available this evening. But Tom and Joyce are here, and they can vote under the rule of necessity.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, but.
But if you would like to adjourn it, we're going to do
I
whatever
mean, I was
you want.
hoping that I would at least have 2 non-conflicted members
Right.
here to present the case versus just the, and I don't know how to other
Yeah.
say, the vote of necessity members.
Right.
Okay.
Would you like to adjourn? And just our next meeting is.
May I speak to my client
Yeah,
first?
and before you do that, let me say, our next meeting is July 3rd. We're switching over to these Thursday schedules, so it's next week. So if you're available, you can come on July 3rd.
And is Mr. Glick going to be available at that meeting, either by Zoom or otherwise?
I believe so. I can tell you right now. On July 3rd, it will be Tom Kempner, Joyce, Carol, and Linda. Not sure about, I don't see Orrin. Bear with me. Yes, and Orrin.
Okay.
So Orrin and I will be here, yes.
Okay.
And the optional voters will be here.
Okay.
Some of them.
May I just have a
Of course.
quick, I apologize.
This is why I wanted to have this discussion. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And basically, you just pick which one of you wants to vote, you're most comfortable voting, or whatever. So,
But
she can't.
definitely probably, you can't.
No, she's an applicant. There's a definitely conflict of interest there.
You're an applicant?
Oh, sorry. I shouldn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Planning board has, I think, 4 out of 5 people who voted. Apparently, this happens all the time.
John's going to be happy. We would like to come before you on July 3rd.
All right. And I'm sorry, but
No, you're not sorry. In fact,
we're working through it.
You've been very, and you've given us the option, and I really, really appreciate that.
Sure.
Because it's going to be a long, extensive presentation. I just want to make sure that at least two of the not totally unrestricted
I
voters.
totally understand.
To hear the whole, the case, because it's going to be a lot of information.
And I'm
With all
sorry
the-
you only found out tonight, but honestly, there have
Not a
been 5
problem.
days of emails and discussions on this
No,
very
no,
issue.
I'm-
We're now conflicts experts.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. So do I have a motion to adjourn the Meadow Club case till next, July 3rd, till next week? All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
We're moving it to July 3rd. All right.
Okay.
I was tortured.
No, you did
But
well.
we got there.
Yeah, it's
We
very
got there.
clear.
The next case is case number 3203, which is the Diamond Cell Tower case. We received an email at 5:28 PM that they'd like to put this case over until, bear with me,
The 17th, is that right?
no, August 7th.
Okay.
August 7th. So do I have a motion to adjourn case number 3203 till August 7th?
A motion.
All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Moved over to that time frame.
Great.
All right.
That was quick.
It's a crazy night. I told you it was going to be an interesting one. 3206. This is the Bishop's case. Do we have anyone here to present for the Bishop's? Wait a minute.
3205?
Sorry, never mind. I'm skipping.
Yeah.
Apologize.
71
wrong.
Hill Street?
Yeah.
3205, 71 Hill Street. Thank you.
Good evening for the applicant, John Bennett and Reed, and John Rose and Scott Rose are with me, as well as Ed and Terry Moan, who were the principals. I have the affidavits of posting and mailing. I'm so used to handing them over here, I think I'll hand them up to the chairwoman, if that's okay. And then just for purposes of just being quick about this stuff, what I'm handing up to you right now are all, these are two things that are already in the record. One of them I colorized with myself, which is frightening, just for ease. It's a existing condition survey and a site plan.
Okay. I'll take one. You can do these. Thank you. We'll save those for the others.
So, I think that, I'm hoping that this will be fairly straightforward.
And John, I have to just warn you that the TVs are not working, I've been told tonight, but people can see them. Can people see remotely, I believe, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, so the TVs here aren't working, but it can be seen remotely. Well, that's good, because that's more important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
you're playing for the remote audience.
Okay. Not totally out of practice on that. So, this is a project which is a 40-unit resort hotel complex just to the east of the Southampton Inn, across from Viridian Way, and also included as part of the special exception approval that was approved by the Board of Trustees on this very existing site plan, are 8 workforce housing units. So this site plan and this plan and the elevations and the floor plans and all that stuff have already been approved by the Board of Trustees on February 13th, 2025. The board coordinated seeker review, which is handy. The trustees did. So they coordinated seeker review and issued a negative declaration. And a copy of the trustees' resolution approving this, as well as the negative declaration, was filed with the application. We're here this evening for some dimensional relief for certain village building restrictions. Specifically, the village building, the VB zone in the village states that it's an interesting, I've never quite seen anything like it, but when you think about the way Job's Lane and Main Street and the core of the retail district are set up, it sort of makes sense. just to create and preserve that historic sense of place of the village business area. The buildings can't be more than 3 feet from the front. Their setback is 3 feet from the right-of-way. And the buildings have to, the buildings themselves have to take up 90% of the frontage, which makes sense on Job's Lane and Main Street, to preserve that sense of, there are a lot of party walls that are shared by these buildings. So for the VB district, the heart of this district, it makes sense. Not here, but this nevertheless is in the VB district. So it's one of those things that I think if the draft people of the code had thought about it, they would have said, well, that doesn't really make sense if you're outside if you're outside Hampton Road, Nugent Street, Main Street, and Job's Lane. Excuse me?
Might have a seat for me.
Okay, sorry about that.
All good.
I just feel a little more comfortable standing up.
You could
but
carry the mic.
For your next act.
Be careful, I might break into a stand-up routine. But, so in any event, it's 116.11.3E says the buildings have to have 90% of the street frontage, and 116.11.32 say the buildings can only have a 3-foot setback from the right-of-way. Well, we've made that 3-foot setback, and in terms of the setback from Viridian Way. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about sort of a strange thing on the denial sheet, but I think we'll get there, and it doesn't really create much of a problem. But in any event, the proposed new building all meets that 3-foot setback. This property's a corner lot with frontages on both Viridian Way and Hill Street. The existing buildings are proposed to remain. There's one existing building. The westerly building is a commercial building, and it'll remain a commercial building. These are the front buildings that are right at Hill Street. The easterly building is going to be converted to 8 workforce housing units as part of one of the conditions of the village.
Excuse me, are you talking about these two buildings?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Better eyes than I do, Scott. Thank you. I'm glad you're here from that and many other reasons. So the property is deep. It's about 650 feet from the front of Hill Street to the back of it, near the cul-de-sac on Viridian Way. So to comply with that 90% frontage requirement, the building would have to be 574 feet in length. It's almost 2 football fields, which clearly makes no sense in terms of this application here. The combined pre-existing frontage along Viridian Way, and remember, the 90% is the requirement, the combined existing frontage along Viridian Way, and colored that in on this, if you flip the page from, it's the second page of the two. The first thing I gave you was an as-built survey, and the second I gave you is I gave you a reduced copy of the site plan. The pre-existing frontage along Viridian Way is 44.6 feet. That's 75 feet of that westerly building on the south, on the west corner, the westerly building fronting on Hill Street, and 284 feet. No, not 284. 182 feet for the existing building. So that's a total of 257 feet. So the combined frontage along Viridian Way for the existing buildings is 44.6%. The proposed combined buildings will have a frontage of 56%, which is 75 feet. Again, that's static. That building is staying there, 75 feet. And 284 feet for the proposed building, which is a total of 359. It's one of those unusual circumstances, and almost sort of unique, where by building a bigger building, we're actually reducing the degree of nonconformity. I don't think that I don't think I've ever seen an application of that before, because this is a rather unusual section which requires the 90 feet of frontage. But again, it's sort of a strange animal in this location. But in any event, be that as it may, we are nevertheless, by making a larger building, decreasing the degree of nonconformity. Again, the existing buildings cover on Viridian Way are 44.6 feet of frontage, 75 and plus 182, and the proposed are 56%, 75 feet, and 284 feet for the proposed building of total of 359. We're at 56%. So actually, the cases all say, since we're reducing the degree of nonconformity, that's a good thing, and it dictates relief. But I mean, it's commonsensical. It's a long lot. We're not going to build a building that's a building. It's not the building that the trustees approved. It would be a very long building, and we've worked this whole site plan out for ingress and egress with the fire marshal. Been vetted by the fire marshal. So again, this is a much more commonsensical plan in terms of trying to gerrymander this thing into a 90-foot frontage. Just doesn't make any sense. Just doesn't leave what has to be done there. And you'd be, from a massing point of view, from an aesthetic point of view, it just makes a lot of sense. I think this is I don't think it's a stretch, if I may. I think this is a good thing. The variance should be granted. So the length of the building is going to, strangely enough, make the situation less non-conforming, but it's just the most commonsensical approach. We're also requesting relief from the parking requirement, but sort of yes and no. We're providing, the site plan provides all of the required parking space, but the village has asked us to create, and Scott can indicate, create the potential for combined access with the property next door, the movie theater. There's been an awful lot of discussion about that. The trustees want that to happen. There's some back and forthing about it. Some of the planning board members don't like it. I don't think our client is thrilled with it. We think it's a real significant safety issue. The movie theater people say the same way. But as we stand right now, the trustees have required that we provide for coordinated access. What that does is take away 3 of our spaces. So what we did was we have, consistent with, modern automotive usage, we provided for some compact spaces, compact car. We call them compact car spaces. So we have 2 compact parking spaces shown on the site plan. These 2 spaces, rather than being 9 by 19 or 10 by 18, that's what a standard parking space is, the spaces are proposed to be 7 by 18, and they'll accommodate easily compact cars, motorcycles, Vespas, etc. So again, with the variance for these compact spaces, we've been able to put them, 2 of them, even though we're going to lose 3 spaces. We've been able to rejigger things. So I think that's a fairly minimal ask. You lose 1 foot on either side of a regular 10-foot wide parking space, but that allows us, we have a plan that conforms, the plan that you're seeing conforms with all the parking requirements. But if the trustees are going to make us implement this coordinated access, there was some discussion back and forth as to whether or not, if a board is imposing coordinated access, do you nevertheless get the benefit of those parking spaces? And rather than have that argument, we agreed to go to this board and ask for these 2 compact spaces. And again, so instead of having a typical 10-foot wide space, you'll lose a 9-foot wide space, excuse me. You'll lose a foot on either side. So I would submit that the granting of these variances from the 90% requirement, they will not have an undesirable effect on the neighborhood. The property is on the edge of the village business zone. It faces a cul-de-sac that provides access to only 2 lots, the existing Southampton Inn and the proposed use with the affordable component in the front. And the property in the lot across the street is improved by a pre-existing hotel with a swimming pool, restaurant, and parking area. So, again, it's an unusually shaped lot for a village business lot. Some of these village business lots are, less than they're 5,000 square feet, some of them. This is quite a different kettle of fish. The proposed combined frontages will be 56% of the lot, which is greater than the existing frontage, but it's less than the required 574 square feet, which is, again, almost 2 football fields. I think this is the sort of stuff that variances are made for, because you can't, you can't anticipate all the uses when you write a code, and you can't anticipate all the shapes and sizes of the lots. And this is the only way we can get this relief. So, because this is the site plan and this is the size of the building, a lot of discussion that the trustees have approved. So I don't think it's substantial. And there's no adverse impact on the neighborhood. There's already, or any environmental conditions, there's already a negative declaration. One great thing that's going to happen here is that the wastewater from this site is going to be put into an actual sewage treatment plant. So it's going to be full, like, I guess, what do they call it? Tertiary treatment? Is that what they call it? Something like that? It's just like, it's not just,
It's not your standard cesspool, it's a sewage treatment plant on premise,
Okay,
as an engineer and all that comes with it, so we'll handle the complete facility.
okay.
and one of the great things about this, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's received no opposition and very enthusiastic support from, well, I think there was a 4-1 vote for the trustees, is that we really need, I think the understanding is we really need some resort hotel units in the village. The village latch went away and is now all residential units. I think this is going to be a great shot in the arm to the downtown business area. Hotel units when the village were converted to residential units at the latch. And there's a demonstrated need for this within walking distance of the cultural and shopping and dining venues. So I think that's a huge benefit to the community, and certainly I can't, for the life of me, see any detriment. I want to sort of discuss quickly, because I don't want to dwell on it too much, because I think it's so minor. I was almost sort of scratching my head. One of the things that the notice relief states that relief is required for the setback from Hill Street, where 3 feet is required for the existing buildings and the proposed buildings. So that was sort of scratching my head. I can't, these buildings exist. They don't meet the 3-foot setback now. They're part of the project. They're pre-existing buildings. They don't meet the 3 feet, nor will the proposed building. But gosh, the proposed building is well behind these existing buildings in the front. One being the building to the west that will remain commercial, and the other one being the workforce housing. Candidly, I guess, I'm just going to come right out and say it. I don't think the chief building inspector wrote the denial letter. I think I don't know how to say it. I say this respectfully because you can be pedantic but dutiful. I meet the 3 feet for the new building, 3-foot setback on Veradian Way. But one of the younger building inspectors wrote the denial and said, I don't meet the 3 feet setback for the new building from Hill Street, despite the fact that these two buildings
Oh, wait a minute.
already exist.
I got to ask you a question.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I thought they were saying, and clearly I'm wrong,
Maybe, I don't know.
That existing-
I was scratching my
that
head.
existing-
Your read of it might be better, I don't know.
does existing building F and existing building E meet the 3-foot setback?
No.
It does not.
No.
That's what I thought their problem was.
Yeah.
And
Those
now,
are
what
existing to remain.
what I don't
as is.
understand about that is, didn't they ask you to keep these buildings?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That's where the workforce housing's gone.
You can't fix the setback because they wanted those buildings.
Yes.
Is my analysis off? What am I
No,
misunderstanding?
No,
That's
that's
accurate.
That's
Okay.
accurate. But I think maybe,
Well, let me go
maybe
on.
the easiest way to do it is just to grant the relief.
Well,
rather than- yeah.
let me ask the second question.
Okay, sure.
So the existing buildings, E and F, that everyone wants you to keep,
Mm-hmm,
don't meet the 3-foot setback rule, but we can analyze that logically.
mm-hmm.
They're also saying, is it also your understanding that from Hill Street to the new 2.5-story hotel,
It's not
you
3
also
feet.
have to have 3 feet? So it has to be built on top of existing buildings E and F somehow?
Somehow
Within 3
conform,
feet of
yeah.
the street?
Yes.
Interesting logic. Okay, thanks.
I mean, I wouldn't have written that in the denial, but again, I think it's a pedantic reading of the statute, but I
Okay.
think it's easy to grant relief from that, because you have a setback that's, I have this pre-existing setback here, and I have to have the separation between this building and the front building is for circulation, which has been worked out, so. Go ahead, no, talk, you don't have to ask me for permission to, what's that?
Swimming pool.
We're getting there.
Okay.
Remember, you criticized me before about jumping the gun on the watchtower?
I thought you were starting to wind up.
Okay, no.
I'm not really understanding
Yeah.
what we're talking about here.
It-
Where is this setback?
It's a tough code. It's a strange
Is
code.
it from Hill Street to the edge of the building?
Yes.
F and-
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
That's not 3 feet?
No, they're saying
No.
it's not.
No. You mean the two existing buildings,
Yeah.
Linda?
Then
Oh,
there's
no, they're.
No,
There's
they're-
also
um,
possibly
Scott, what are the
3 feet
setbacks?
From the street. I guess,
currently
the way
this-
the
Guys,
code was
one-
written.
guys,
The
please,
new building.
well, Scott's gonna tell
Okay,
you.
sorry.
How far are E and F back? They're over 3 feet
Oh, yes.
by some amount.
E is over 20 feet, and F is probably at its closest point to the property line on Hill Street is maybe 8 feet.
Right.
And
Hence, they don't
and he
meet the
calls it
3-foot
out
setback
in the
rule.
notice, this setback from Hill Street for the new building is about 177 feet.
No, we get
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So that's the variance problem, is because the pre-existing buildings that they want them to keep don't meet the 3-foot rule. So that's issue number 1 for us.
But it's weird, because I've never been asked to obtain a variance for an existing building.
No,
Even
there
when
you
it's
have it.
even when it's part of a project.
Okay.
Yeah. But in any event, so I don't think that creates an issue, but probably the better way in terms of getting,
John, can I ask a related question?
yeah.
Front yard.
Yes,
Where are the front yards on this property?
we have 2 front yards.
We have 2?
Yeah, we have Hill
Radian Way is considered to be a front yard?
Radian
is,
Way
'cause it
is
is
a
a public-
dedicated public street,
Yes,
Wow.
yeah.
It's like a corner lot then?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not
Radian
realize
Way
that
is a
until I read your
dedicated
papers.
public street. There was some issue on a prior iteration about abandoning it and creating some green space there, but I think that was too big of an issue for the trustees to grasp at this point. And just for way of background, the only comment that has ever been through any of these meetings, Architectural Review Board and the town and the village board, is somebody questioned whether or not whether or not the village should open this up to was it Cooper's Farm Road? And my response was, the last time that was suggested, I think there were pitchforks and
Probably.
so, but the trustees did not, I mean, they could do it their own whim, but they didn't make that a condition. But in any event, so those are these 2 little things that are, they're almost vestigial aspects of the application. But I think the easier way, as opposed to struggling with the interpretations, is just to grant the relief. I'm well behind these existing buildings, and the existing they exist, so.
Carol, are we interested in knowing how this little,
The cut-through?
drive-through, cut-through affects this area with
The movie theater?
the movie theater, and how does it
Awesome.
connect to it?
It'll be an open driveway and people can cut through.
Thus, there's.
That's how it affects
I mean,
them.
the village trustees.
No, I think it's a good idea.
Well-
I'm just wondering, where does it come in? I mean, I know you said the theater, and I know where the area is, but is there a road there?
It's parking there.
Cutting through the
Just-
parking
just
lot of
parking, so
the
the-
movie theater and our property.
Currently, our proposed cross-access point is at their southerlymost parking area.
Okay,
That way, it will reduce the amount of traffic coming up by the front entrance of the hotel, knowing that most of the people using that would be using it, in theory, to cut
So you're
through.
moving it from up here to down
Yes,
here?
we're moving further
Any thought
south.
to moving it so that when you make a right, you just go straight into the movie theater area rather than a little jag to the left and a little jag to the right?
It is, I believe the movie theater actually started theirs in its current location, which is, I believe, part of the conditions of the planning board was to come back with coordinated between the two property owners.
But that's before the planning board.
Correct.
That's one of the issues before the planning
Yes.
board.
For-
On the site
yeah.
plan review.
We have accounted for the removal of 3 parking spaces for this cross-access if it is deemed
Yeah, I'm not
necessary.
saying to
So
do anything but
it
move
can,
it
in
so
theory,
that it's a
move.
straight shot in once you make a
So,
right.
If I may, if I understand correctly, you're suggesting moving it north.
See how you would just come in here like this, and make a turn, and then you could just go straight,
Right, so
as
this is,
opposed to,
yeah, this here has, the building is here, and there's all sorts of electrical devices here, and they
Okay.
have.
Yes.
so this is the soonest you can do it.
it's the
That is
soonest,
correct.
And we examined many options, another one was which here,
No,
but
they
the topography here is rather great from here to here.
And you don't wanna drive all the way
Well,
down there to do that.
The fact is, the only person using it, people using it, are
Yes.
people that are running the red,
Said mom.
cutting through the red light. Well,
Great.
if you think about it, one comes to this facility and they park their car,
Yeah.
and they walk to the rest of the village. And if I'm going to a movie, I would walk. And if I'm at the movie theater and I'm staying at this facility,
You're gonna drive.
I've left my car there. So it's really only to cut.
I mean, candidly, that's when
Hold
the
on,
discussion.
we need people at the mics, he's,
Okay, candidly,
cannot hear a
that's
thing.
when the discussion before the
That's
planning.
Yeah.
That's before
One
the
second,
planning.
one second, excuse me?
I don't think Tom saw any of that.
Tom, I'm sorry. We were talking about alternative places to put the cut-through, and apparently they were considered, and they're less than desirable because of electrical lines and proximity and difficulty with topography.
Thank you, I heard it.
Okay, good, thanks.
Oh, okay. I was gonna move on to the special exception, but only if you guys are comfortable with that for the pool.
I have enough information. Any other questions on the front yards, the setback on Hill, the setback on Vardanian Way, the cut-through? Enough to move on to the pool? Okay.
It's sort of a strange thing. It's
We're
sort
good.
of unique for all these many years I've been doing applications.
good.
But, okay, good. When I say strange, it's, I've never had to deal with something 3 feet, and anyway, we're there. So, so let's go to the pool. The trustees of the village, in their wisdom, have decided that a pool, even for a resort hotel, is subject to your special exception approval. I'm sure you all know this, but I say it all the time. A special exception is not a variance. It is a use that is permitted upon special exception. And again, it's not a variance. That means the trustees have found that this is an appropriate use in the zone and for this type of use. They just want to make sure that a board is taking a little bit of a finer look at it. Now, most of the time, these days, that's a planning board, but historically, zoning boards of appeals have had special exception use approval. Most municipalities, they've migrated that to the planning board, but this village of Southampton is not. But that's fine. That's just, we'll come present the application to you. So we submitted an application, in our application, a special exception petition that complied with all of the many standards, and it's about 6 or 7 pages long. I'm just gonna ask you to be familiar with that, but I'm just gonna hit the high points, as it were, towards the special exception. So we have to meet certain standards, and once we meet these standards, we're supposed to be okay. So let me, I lost my place, I'm so sorry. Again, it's long, but I'm just gonna hit the most important parts and rely on the written submissions. There's a landscape plan submitted with the application, and the pool, I'm sorry.
I'm just
no, we're
saying it
just-
looks
yeah.
like this, so we're all on the same page.
It's the
Okay.
writer.
Yeah.
Okay, the landscape plan submitted with the application, the proposed pool will be screened from view along Viridian Way to the west and the parking lot to the east. So there'll be plenty of screening for the, and that's submitted with the application. There's a very general standard, will be in harmony with and promote the general purposes and intents of the zoning chapter. Well, I always scratched my head when I looked at that and said, well, gee, you made it a special exception, use permitted upon special exception, so presumably it, it meets the intents of the zoning chapter, but the project is being developed with entirely permitted uses within the VV zone. That's important. Trustees granted the special exception approval, and the proposed pool is a customary accessory use to a resort hotel. The next question that they ask you in these standards is the plot area sufficient for the proposed use? Well, it's certainly, as you can see, it's more than sufficient for not only the 40-unit resort hotel, the wastewater treatment system, the 2 buildings that will remain out front, one of them with the 8 affordable units, so the plot area is sufficient. Will the proposed use prevent the orderly and reasonable use of adjacent properties? So again, the property directly across the way from Viridian Way is also improved with a hotel and a swimming pool. And again, the proposed use will be perfectly screened from adjacent properties. Is the site particularly suitable for the location of such use in the community? Well, the trustees have already granted special exception approval for the use. The only request before this board is to construct an associated swimming pool, which again is customary to a resort hotel unit, and we would therefore say is particularly suitable for the use. Does the proposed use conform with the generally accepted definition of such use? Yes, a swimming pool is accessory to a resort hotel. Remember, this list of conditions that you're going through, it's like a catch-all. So a lot of them, you know, is not, or not even applicable. For example, they ask, is there any, one of the conditions is there any outdoor retail display? Well, that's certainly not, you know, the type of condition that you would look at and this or concern that you would have. Is access to the facilities, are they sufficient? The proposed access will off Viridian Way. And there was a traffic study that was submitted as part of the village special exception application. Indeed, it was commissioned by the village, not the applicant, where they noted that the traffic generation of this use is much less than the traffic generation of a lot of the village business uses that are allowed. The curb cuts will be submitted to the highway department for approval prior to construction. Adequate screening, adequate drainage will all be reviewed by this planning board. I think all of our drainage calculations meet the required calculations. That's being studied by the planning board, but we're confident that the planning board will see that our application as submitted meets all the site plan approval standards. And then it's just, is there any outdoor display or sales? No, there aren't, because the use doesn't, obviously doesn't lend itself to them. So, I literally could go through this wonderful 9-page special exception petition, or 6-page, but I don't think there's any need for that because I really hit the high notes on this. So I think we have a good variance case. I think we meet the standards for a special exception, a use that's permitted on special exception. And unless are there any other questions or anyone for the team? I'm ready to rest, as they say.
Anybody? Questions?
I have like a couple clarifying questions. So it was not clear from what I could see in your application here on the agenda. Is the workforce housing, the 8 units, it's just here in this building F?
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then building E, that's going to remain commercial
Yes.
as presently is?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Although the
Okay.
watchtower, the
Yeah,
clock,
the
that's going
clock
away.
tower
That's going away.
is going away?
Yes.
Okay.
Much to people's.
Okay. And then, okay, so in terms, just to reiterate, in terms of the traffic survey, that's been done by the planning board, is that correct? Or the village commissioned
The village
that?
commissioned it as part of their review of the application for this special exception
Okay.
approval. And they rolled that into the negative declaration and also into their findings that this would be less traffic generation than the other, list of village business uses.
Okay, all right. And then I had one more question, which was, okay, the actual entrance to the hotel is here on the east side, is that right?
That is
I'm
correct.
trying to
Yes.
get clear about what
That
the
is the-
layout is in terms of the traffic flow
That
and
is the
everything.
main entrance. We do
Okay.
have a secondary entrance that exits onto Viridian Way, directly
Okay.
across from the main entrance.
Okay. All right. And then this is gonna be 40 rooms, and the current Southampton Inn it's at about 80, about double that size, or
I don't know.
90 rooms.
90? Okay.
Thank you. I'm
All
glad.
right, thank you.
Sometimes it's good to have a client. But these are separate, they're not linked uses.
Okay,
This is standalone use.
okay.
It's resort, but it's transient. So there are occupancy stay limitations written right into the special exception approval by the trustees.
Okay, because when
This
this
can't become an
proposal,
apartment, for example.
okay, because when this proposal came before this board initially, as I'm sure you're aware, there was some conversation about there was no limit designated, like these could be extended stay.
Yeah, they're deemed transient.
Okay.
Somebody can't rent them out for the year or something like that.
Airbnb or
No,
something
no,
like that,
no. It's-
Okay.
No. And I'm sorry, I wasn't handling the application.
No, no,
Yeah.
it's not, it was a different
But it's,
attorney, or, yeah.
it's a proper question. And
Okay.
And the trustees dealt with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, I just
No,
wanted
it's a
that.
proper question. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
mean-
it was a historic, perspective about how this has evolved, so.
Well, one of the things that I think really is helpful to this application is the whole idea is that you would have people transient in and out, and hopefully it's going to be shot in the arm to the business district, I hope.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
Okay.
yeah, the trustees buttoned that up in their limitations.
Okay. Thank you, that's very helpful.
Yeah. No, it's a,
And then, one last question, I'm sorry about this. And then in terms of can you just clarify a little bit, it may be a question for you, about the septic situation? Because I know that's a big concern. So it's all the water's gonna be,
Sure, there's an on-site sewage treatment plant. in
okay,
essence. So it will handle all the effluent from this site, all buildings
Oh,
will be
great.
handled in that.
okay.
so that in itself is an enormous environmental.
Oh,
benefit, yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, it's not, again, it's not one of these, what are they calling them?
Denitrification system.
Denitrification systems, it's not,
It's a full-blown,
it's not one of these
Sewage.
IA systems, it's a full-blown sewage treatment plant.
And where's the location for all of that equipment, or for the plant? Is
the
it?
lion's
the
share of
north.
that is underground,
Okay,
but it's designated on it.
And there's setbacks that the health department requires us to keep, which we are maintaining.
okay.
See, there.
Oh, that's what I thought. Okay, I just,
It will also be fully enclosed as well,
okay. And screened and.
screened and
okay.
fenced, yes.
Tom, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you, Carol.
Okay. Linda?
No, all good.
All right. Do you have anything else to say, folks, before we go to deliberation? All right. Deliberation time. Any comments? Anything?
No, I think it looks like it might be an improvement to the whole area.
I think so too. Yeah. So I think they're under a special exception. It's a very low burden, very low standard for them to meet. They just have to prove that they're doing things consistent with what the special exception was designed to do, and it was designed to allow a pool. And there are pool next doors and so on and so forth. So that, to me, is completely logical.
Yeah, me too.
The area variance 3-foot setback on Hill Street, it's absolutely logical. They asked them to keep the building. The building doesn't have the right setback, but they don't want them to take it down, therefore that one stays. I think the 83% frontage on Hill and 56% of Vardanian, you have to do that, otherwise it's going to be a massive, ugly building that will overpower the neighborhood.
Right.
So I think it's actually better than any 90% concept. And the parking, if they have to take away the 3, they'll put in the compact, and that's the most we can do. So I
Win-win.
think that it's all consistent with the character and trying to preserve the community look and vibe, and it's consistent with the neighborhood and Southampton Inn look. I'm fine
Agree.
with all of it.
Well, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think my two major concerns were the traffic and the sewage treatment. And I think both of those they seem to have been more than sufficiently addressed.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's actually, the trustees, it's not like we hired an expert to tell you what we wanted the expert to say, you know?
No,
It's-
no,
it's-
you clarified
It's
that
sort of neat
before,
that it's
thank you.
that the trustees went out and independently hired their expert, the traffic expert. So I felt good about that.
All right, so would you like to close the hearing now and direct council to prepare an opinion consistent with our inclination?
Yeah.
Right, and which we could then vote on and approve at the next meeting? Any further comments before we close the hearing and we do just that?
No.
All right, do I have a motion to close this hearing?
Motion to close.
Second? Aye, all
Second.
those in favor?
Yep.
All right, thank you very
Aye.
much. We'll have
Thank you.
Brian Stiller prepare
Thank
the
you all.
opinion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. All right.
Good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is case number 3206, Bishop Waves, 139 Bishop Lane. Thank you for coming.
Hi, Lisa Zaloga, I'm the architect, and this is Bill Owen, he was the contractor. So this is an application for a 1.2 foot variance on a 15-foot setback for an accessory structure. I actually have my affidavits and my certificates, but there's no attorney here to give them to me. Can I use it? Yes. Thank you. There you go. So this project started a couple years ago, and it was granted a building permit for a pool, a garage, and a pool house. The building permit was granted December 18th of 2023, and our proposed survey showed that we would meet the 15-foot setback for the back of the garage, and all the other structures met all the setbacks. At some point, when we started construction, we had the property staked out by a surveyor, and we built all the structures. As the final survey came about, it was brought to our attention that we were actually at 13.8 as opposed to 15 feet. We don't know how it happened. None of us do. It was certainly not intentional by any stretch of the imagination. We don't even have cameras. We don't even have cameras.
Well, no, the cameras in this room don't work, but they do work remotely, and we do
Okay.
have members on the line, so we
Okay.
could use it. Thank you,
So
I appreciate
keep it this way, I assume.
Yeah.
So the structure was built. It's a 420 square foot garage. It's 16 feet tall. It meets pyramid even though it's 1.2 foot too close to the property line. The aerial photo shows you that you can see where the structures were being built at the time. The lot behind us is completely vacant at the time. I submitted pictures also of the site. It's totally completely screened. It's 100% behind the house, not visible from anywhere. And we are just looking for some help.
Fair enough.
And I don't know what happened.
No, I understand
just-
that from your papers.
He's been a contractor here for 50 years. He's like, I don't know what happened.
It's the first time in
have
50
you-
years it's ever happened.
Things happen. So have any neighbors been concerned or expressed any?
Not to my knowledge,
Views.
no. Like I said, it's, the property behind us is vacant. Nobody has contacted me, and as far as I know, they haven't contacted the building department.
And did you give them notice of this hearing,
Yes, of
I
course.
take it?
Yes, yes,
And no one came forward? So, okay. So the situation is that you're about a foot and some off?
About 14
Right.
inches, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, any thoughts, everybody? Tom, give us your experience here. This is a hard one.
Pretty shocked to see this. People have laser measuring devices and all kinds of things. I've never seen anything like this before.
All right.
Yeah, nor have I.
And if we allow a precedent where people walk away unscathed for 1 and 2 foot encroachments, we're going to get a lot of cases like this, I'm afraid.
Well, is there a way to take out a foot and change off the side and add it to the other side? In other words, just extend the roof on one side and cut it on this side? It would not be symmetrical, but wouldn't that accomplish the goal?
I mean, is there a way? Of course there is a way. It's an extremely expensive way. You would have to it's built on a foundation. It's built on a foundation that goes 3 feet deep into the ground. There's a ridge that would have to be cut back. The wall would have to be cut back. The foundation would have to be cut back.
Yep.
The slab would have to be cut back. A new foundation wall would have to be put in. I asked Bill what he thought the cost factor was. I think you kind of give it some thought.
Probably $50,000 to $60,000 to do that.
Okay.
And we would not try to we wouldn't try to go forward more. That's just to alleviate the 1 foot over, the 1 foot off.
I'm sorry, what are you saying?
We wouldn't try to go forward and move it a foot, it would just be to
Oh.
cut off a foot of the garage.
Oh, okay.
Everything seems to be slightly off. Our proposal that was sent to the surveyor had a 21-foot setback to the pool. We ended up at 20.4. The pool house was supposed to be at 17 feet. We ended up at 16 feet. And the garage was supposed to be at 15 feet, and we ended up at 13.8. Everything somehow was slightly off. And we actually there's photographs of the fact that it was in fact staked out. What happened? I just have no idea. But it certainly wasn't realized until the final survey arrived. I know the building inspectors usually have, a 6-inch leeway kind of thing, but 14 inches was a little much, and I wasn't going to ask for any kind of relief there, so here we are. It certainly wasn't the homeowner's fault. We just don't know what happened.
No question.
Again, the pyramid law, all of that stuff is perfectly, it's still within pyramid, it's still within all of the setbacks, other than that one.
The tricky part is this. Well, I'm really sympathetic with what just happened for a lot of reasons, but it's so hard because there's 5 criteria which we have to weigh. And one is it self-created? Well, of course it was self-created by human error, and that's the way that we know that. Is it consistent with the neighborhood? No, because people are required to follow the setback rules typically. Does it set precedent? It certainly does. We'll have other people coming in asking for the same kind of, exceptions, and that's what Tom was alluding to. So, right, wrong, or otherwise, this really falls in a bad place in terms of measuring it against our standard criteria. So we exercise discretion, but our discretion is based on this criteria, and it doesn't meet their criteria. So I'm not making a decision, I'm saying, but I want you to understand that's our challenge. That's what we're wrestling with in our minds right now.
Well, the self-created one doesn't affect your decision, correct, right? Like, that doesn't matter whether it's self-created or not.
It's one of the five
it is. It's one
criteria.
of the
Yeah.
five factors.
It's one of
It
the
is,
five.
but it's not something that is a,
All five affect it. In other words, you shall take into consideration the following five factors. Boom, 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 boom. And it's not 20%. They're not all equal. It
Right.
depends on the case. But those are the five factors. And I'm just saying that we're wrestling with that in our minds. That's why we're quiet. We're trying to figure out a way to get you all to where you need to be,
Right.
but yet not set precedent, not change the character of the neighborhood,
Right.
not let people self-create problems and then come in and say, oops, I did it again, kind of thing. I'm not
Right.
making light of it. I'm saying this is our challenge as a
Right.
board right now, and I'm struggling with it. I really am. How do you want to proceed, guys? Do you want to noodle over this some more till the next meeting, or do you ready to?
No, I think they have to correct it.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah,
I'm
I
coming
mean, I
out
don't think
too.
we can
That's where
set
I'm
a
coming out
precedent and
too.
approve it, then
Yeah.
everybody will come in
I
and,
know. I know. Tom, do you have any of the same kind of feelings, or where are you on that?
I remain shocked. I think in the village of Southampton, we have a lot of great builders, and we as homeowners pay them very well for their work product and have a reasonable expectation that the work they do complies with the plans they were asked to build to and the zoning code. And I think, I would maybe suggest a fine that the village gets that compensates half of the cost of remediating it, or some such monetary damages strategy.
Okay. Do you want to vote on this?
can I ask before you?
Please, absolutely.
If you really, I mean, the fine thing is interesting conversation. Before you vote on it, if you can, I would prefer that you hold it open, and perhaps I can come back to you with some other cases that have been decided in this form or fashion, and maybe that would help you in the whole precedent conversation.
Yeah, we're not looking to.
Before you decide to vote against it.
Yeah, we're not looking to be difficult. We're looking to be
No,
fair.
no, of course,
And
of
that's
course.
absolutely fine. That would
Okay,
be welcome.
yeah, I would ask that you hold it open
Okay.
as opposed to
Absolutely.
closing it.
Yep.
Because, I mean, I've been around a long time. I have seen some that have been granted, both in the village and the town, when there was a slight error. So I would ask that you would hold it open.
We'll hold it
before
open, and you put it on the schedule when you're ready.
that. Okay,
Okay?
okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay.
you. Sorry.
Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you for coming. All right. So. So Tom and everyone, the next case was to be case number 30, excuse me. Do I hear a motion to to keep that case open, but to hold it over until they're ready to proceed?
I motion.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tom?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Great. That's held over. Thank you for that.
If you could, a second, you may want to postpone it to a fixed date, because so there's no need to renotice.
Oh, yes, good point. I don't want to put her on for the very next meeting because she needs to do research. So may I suggest we
August.
skip July and we do August 7th. So, and then if she would like to ask it to be adjourned, then she can seek adjournment at that time, and we would do that. So do I hear a motion to, thank you very much, Lisa, to put this over to set that case over to August 7th?
I motion.
All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Tom? Okay, great.
Aye.
Thank you, Lisa. It takes a village. Our
Good thing we
environmental
got one here.
expert.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now, the next case is case number 3207. Just so you all know what's going on, that's Tallow Building Corporation. And the gentleman came up to me, the resident, came up to me before this meeting, just moments before, and said he didn't realize he had to do the notice, and he has not done the notice. He'd like an opportunity to do the notice, so he asked, could I come back later? I said, we can adjourn it, and you can come back later. So I'd like to move that this be put over. I'm not going to put it over for just, excuse me?
Brian's here.
Oh, Brian. Hey, Brian. So I suggest we put it over not for July, which is next week.
Yeah.
But put over again to August 7th. Do I hear a motion to put this over to August?
Motion.
All right, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All right, so the tallow building case is put over to August 7th, by which time he can send out the requisite notices. Okay. That brings us to deliberations and written decisions. And there are 3 on the list, 3186 Cordell, 3199 Eiffel, and 3201 GST Exempt Trust, also known as 75 Hetty Creek. We're going to get those cases, those opinions written up by Brian, and they'll be ready next week. So we're going to be putting those decisions over to review and vote on next week on July the 3rd. Brian, did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
All right. Do I have to make a motion to do that?
No.
Good. All right. That is the last of the cases. Yeah, so that's all the cases we have. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? Go through?
I don't think
Anything
so.
at all?
I think this is
Well done.
All right,
Well done,
our
is
next
right.
meeting, we're going on our Thursday agenda now.
Yes.
okay.
And I can tell you that some people have expressed chagrin that we're not meeting twice a week, twice a month, which really surprises me. So, get ready. Maybe we'll get some folks who want
One
us to
of
meet.
us?
No.
Applicants or?
One of the trustees wanted us to meet more often. The planning board was surprised because they meet twice a month and so on. So, but it's all right. We're going to try because for our group, it seems to me, I don't know if I want to put this on record or not, but there's a lot of submissions the applicants have to give us. The paper is intense, and for them to do that twice a week, I think is a lot. So it's a little bit different. So I think we're good, but just know that we may be pulled into more frequent meetings now and then, and that's okay too.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Lisa.
Good night,
You're there.
everyone.
I
Thank
think
you.
she's
Good
gone.
to see you, Tom.
Thank you
Good to
so
see
much,
you again
everybody.
In person.
Bye, everybody.